Dude, the look on Brendan's face when he's doing that is the look I have on my face anytime I watch improv. Hello, best friend Brenbrens, and welcome back to Season 3 of Rewatching Home Movies, a weekly watch-along podcast where three friends break down the 1999 animated series Home Movies. My name's Tim, and I'm obsessed with home movies.
My name's Adele, and I'm a home movies newbie.
And my name is Marcin, and I've never seen home movies.
Home Movies, Season 3, Episode 4, titled Improving Your Life Through Improv. Original air date August 25th, 2002 on Adult Swim, written by Brendan Small, Bill Broaddus, and cast, directed by Lauren Bouchard, and produced by Carl Adams. Synopsis for this episode: Mr. Lynch sends all the kids plus Coach McGurk to a sensitivity training for mocking Junior Adelberg.
What the fuck? All right.
So when we do these remote episodes, we have to watch the episode together at the same time. And in order for us to do that, we have it on YouTube here. And it's always a stress because in the playlist, they have all the titles on there. And I try so hardest not to look at the titles. But it's even harder because it doesn't pick up right where I left off. So I have to like scroll down and I have to be like 3, 4. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. And even when I'm hovering over it, the title comes up. And so I did see improving your, but I didn't finish the rest of it. Every time I looked, I was like, oh, look away. So the whole episode was like, improving your what? Improving your what?
Well, here's a hot comedic take. I don't think improv improves anyone's life,
Ooh.
if I'm being honest.
Except for Ben Schwartz. He's the only one.
I don't know. We have to improv every day just to get through it.
That's fair. That's fair.
That is true. Well, we are going to talk about this episode. I have some opinions.
Oh, me too.
But before we get started that, why don't we jump into the creative corner, shall we? The creative corner, of course, something in the creative realm that we're consuming, producing, we want to bring to light. So please, Mr. James Hetfield, if you would. Here, creative corner, doodly-doo, here. So who wants to go first on this creative corner? You know what? I'd like to go.
Okay.
All right, I'll allow it. Thanks.
So my creative corner this week, it might be the first time I've ever done this. It's a book.
What the fuck, dude?
I know, dude. I got tricked into reading a book.
Got him.
Someone's like, hey, check out this comic. It doesn't have any pictures. And I'm like, interesting choice, but okay. Let's see what this is. No, Adele and I got Kindles not too long ago, and one of the first books I got was the memoir of Bob Odenkirk, and his memoir is called Comedy, Drama. If you don't know Bob Odenkirk, I remember Bob Odenkirk when I was younger. He was on a show called Mr. Show with Bob and David, and it was him and David Ross. Bob Odenkirk went on to do so many different roles, but I guess in more recent times, he is known as Saul Goodman from both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, as well as he had a movie called Nobody. Are you guys familiar with this?
Is that the spinoff? The Keanu Reeves movie. What is that guy? He's the guy, gun guy.
John Wick.
John Wick.
It's a very John Wick-esque type movie, but with Bob Odenkirk. So yeah, I started reading his book. I like Bob Odenkirk as both a comedian and as an actor, and his book is very interesting. Bob is from the Chicago suburbs, so he talks a lot about like growing up in Naperville and going to Chicago and going to school, and it's very interesting. But to learn about somebody that you kind of look up to comedically and learn their kind of journey through comedy, and you know, Bob was somebody who was very much into improv, and he talks about these like glimpses of time when doing improv where he wanted to do something in a more dramatic kind of way and how it was kind of against the comedic improv he was doing. So It talks about just his journey through comedy, which inevitably led him to doing more dramatic roles. I really like Bob Odenkirk. I think he's a pretty clever dude, and his writing is very, very good. So I would highly recommend it. Bob Odenkirk's memoir, comedy, drama.
Nice. We love a king who reads.
Yeah. I just like Bob Odenkirk. I think in the show, his character, Saul Goodman, is actually originally from Chicago as well, because they go back into that with Better Call Saul.
Yeah. He talks about living in Cicero and falling down on purpose to kind of make money, and they called him Slippin' Jimmy.
You're Slippin' Jimmy!
Cicero.
You don't change! Sorry, I think Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad.
I haven't seen either.
Yeah.
I've seen both. I enjoyed both. I guess my take would be this. I did enjoy Better Call Saul more than I enjoyed Breaking Bad, but I personally enjoyed the ending of Breaking Bad more than I enjoyed the ending of Better Call Saul.
That's fair.
All right, who's going next?
Cicero. I'll go next.
Okay.
What do you got?
So there was a movie that was made in like the late 60s, early 70s called Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, and it's very like dreamlike. There's a lot of symbolism specifically surrounding when girls go through their period and then have to face womanhood and the horrors that come along with that. And there was this one YouTube channel who broke it down very well and pointed out all the symbolism and kind of spoon-fed it to people who wanted to watch. That YouTube channel is called Final Girl Digital. It touches down on like the stages of womanhood. You're like, you start your period and you're considered like a maiden and you're just kind of going through puberty and you have to deal with, you know, old men finding you attractive when you're a minor. And then you go into maidenhood where you're kind of thrown into a like a motherly caregiver role. And then after that, you're thrown into the crone phase of womanhood where you're kind of old and society kind of casts you aside because you're no longer young and fertile and helpful. So it just kind of breaks that down in a really, really nice little package. It was very interesting, especially from a woman's point of view, but I feel like if men were to watch it, they'd learn stuff too. So yeah, Final Girl Digital is the YouTube channel.
Final Girl Digital. I think I saw one of their videos about the Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked that one. I like video essays, but they're so that the market is so like big with video essays.
Flooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
absolutely.
And now all the video essays that I see on my thing is like why video essayists are lying to you, and I'm like,
God damn it.
Well, and it sucks so much because you're like, oh, I found this guy and he did this like really good comprehensive breakdown of this like very cool thing and it's very niche, and you're like, oh, nice, and let me see what else he is. Oh, and he's racist. Yeah. Okay. Shoot.
But I think Nick also really likes Final Girl Digital, I'm pretty sure, because they are also a binge-worthy video essayist person. God damn, can't talk.
I know she also did a video on like the Poor Things. I don't know. Have you seen that yet, Marcin?
No.
Poor Things?
I don't think Nick really wanted to see it in theaters, but you know, because the theaters experience is expensive, we didn't get the chance to go see it.
Yeah. Well, if you ever get a chance to watch it, I would definitely recommend it. I know she did a video essay on that as well. So she's just really smart, really fun, break shit down.
I have already subscribed to her now that yep, there it is.
Hell yeah.
That was very good.
Thanks.
And then I will go next. My creative corner is a podcast. We all know who Godzilla is. We all know the cultural impact of the Godzilla universe, kaijus, and how massive they became, especially from like the 1950s to now. Even, I think, to this day, at this moment, there are like 3 different Godzilla franchises happening at the same time, with the Western Godzilla and King Kong versus were they buddy cop movies, and then Godzilla -1, which is an amazing movie.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that one.
Godzilla -1 is so fucking good. I saw it twice. Please watch subs. It's so worth it. But I watched it twice. It's such a good fucking movie. But that's not my creative corner. But Godzilla is just such a huge thing. And there's a podcast I listen to called Podzilla, where it's Jasher Drake and his brother Micah, where they watch every single Godzilla film, every kaiju film, and then they review it on their podcast. Each episode is a different movie. They did Godzilla -1. They've also done films like Nope. I love Jasher. He was on the fundraising stream for Season of Curse 2 I think a couple years ago. I also had him do a voice of one of the NPCs for Eldritch Journeys called Thug Rock, and he just blew it out of the water. But his podcast is really fun. It's nice. They don't like try to critique everything because they know that there's some shitty Godzilla movies out there. But they just enjoy it for what it is. They're fans of the product, so even if it's bad, they can still find something in it to enjoy. So I highly recommend listening to Podzilla if you're a kaiju fan at all.
I love the pun of their podcast name.
Yeah, it's a really good podcast name. Podcast names are so important.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I think that was one of the things when we were coming up with the title for this podcast. We were like, what are we going to call it? How are we going to get people to listen to it? Where's the pun?
Yeah, and it's all that plus, I hope someone else didn't already come up with this.
Yeah.
Make 3 episodes and then abandon the project.
Yeah.
Because, like, oh, I got the perfect name. And you're like, oh, somebody took this in 2017, made 2 episodes, and never touched it again.
If you take the name and you continue with it, they'll reach back out and be like, hey.
I've had this on the back burner in case I want to start it back up again.
Right.
Nice. Well, speaking of podcasts, do you guys want to jump into this podcast?
Yeah.
Sure do, Bert.
I hope so, because we are breaking down Season 3, Episode 4, Improving Your Life Through Improv. This episode is a little bit different from most because we do not open in a movie or preparing for a movie or anything like that. This episode, we actually open up and Paula is driving Brendan to school with Josie in the back seat. Paula's explaining that she can't keep driving Brendan to school like this, and Brendan kind of pushes back and argues that, yeah, you can. You have a car. He even makes a comment that when he leaves for school, she's standing there waving, and when he gets back, she's in the same spot, kind of using that kid logic to heavily imply that she does nothing all day. She just stands in the same spot and waits for Brendan. So Paula tells Brendan that he sounds tired, and Brendan confesses, yeah, that's because I woke up like 4 minutes ago.
I love that Josie is making more appearances this season.
I think the animators are like, okay, all right. She exists again. Here you go.
Yeah. What was it? Famously on Happy Days, the main character has a brother who like goes upstairs one day and then you just never see him again.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, let's not Happy Days Josie. She's here for the long haul.
That happened on Twin Peaks. One of the main characters had a sister that appears once in the pilot episode, and we never see her again.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's so weird how that like younger sibling sometimes just like falls to the wayside of like main characters.
Such is life.
Yeah, a lot of times younger siblings are just annoying to look at, so when they come on screen, it's like, get out of here.
Damn. Not me being the youngest sibling in my family. I'll just go
youngest.
fuck myself.
I'm also
second youngest boy.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, it does.
How does that not
I don't
count?
know. Because he still has a younger sibling than him.
But I have 2 older siblings.
It's different.
I mean, I'm a middle child too, so I think it counts.
I just want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to be the youngest and the middleest.
All right. We'll give it to you.
Well, Paula pulls over to discreetly mail a package and even looks a little guilty while doing so. Interesting.
Yeah.
Paula gets back in the car and tells Brendan he has to go to bed early tonight and get up early tomorrow because they're not going to miss the bus again. She pulls over and tells Brendan, have a good day, and that's when Brendan points out that she drove them back to the house.
I like how she was like, I want you in bed early tonight. And he's like, I want you in bed early tonight.
I was wondering what was up with Paula, because she seemed very scatterbrained in this first opening scene.
Yeah, definitely when she's going to mail the package, she's trying to keep it on the down low. So the next scene, we're on the playground. We see Jason, Melissa, Brendan sitting around with Walter and Perry and a few other unknown background kids. Melissa begins to do an impression by saying, "What's up, stupid heads?" And Jason immediately says, "Are you doing an impression of my father?"
That got a good chuckle out of me.
Melissa does the impression again, and this time she says, "Hey, stupid heads, kick the stupid ball." And that's when Brendan realizes she's doing an impression of Coach McGurk.
I like how her eyes turn into Coach McGurk's eyes.
She also does the same posture. She's like got her like arms out like that.
Yeah.
It reminded me of in season 1, there was a scene where Brendan was kind of losing it, and he was doing the role of himself and Jason and Melissa. And when he would do Jason, he like was physically like rounder.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So Brendan says he has an impression, and his impression is, I'm just an idiot. And after a couple wrong guesses, Brendan confesses that it was Mr. Lynch. Walter then stands up, and he does an impression by saying, "I'm a little daffodil, pretty little daffodil, and I'm beautiful."
That sounds like something Michael Jackson would have said.
Well, I love it because Jason is like, "My father?"
Do we ever meet Jason's parents or father?
We met his mom once.
In drawing form.
Yeah, we have conversations with and about them, but I don't think we ever see them on screen.
Damn.
Yeah.
They probably got divorced.
I like it. Perry guesses Coach McGurk, and Walter is like, "No, that was you, Perry." Perry like immediately like takes offense, and he's like, "Why do you want to hurt me?" And Walter is like, "No, it wasn't. I wasn't trying to hurt you. It was an homage." Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. That's why I dress like you.
Is that true, Tim?
What's that?
Can you do an impression of Adele?
I'm a little daffodil, a pretty little daffodil, and I'm beautiful.
No, that's clearly Perry.
All right.
No, that was Coach McGurk.
All right, Adele, do an impression of Tim.
Oopsie poopsie.
I know for a long time, Adele and I it's a little love language, but we'll do this thing where in almost a bullying tone, I'll be like, "My name's Adele, and I'm beautiful, and I'm the best, and I'm just the sweetest there is."
And then I cry.
And I'm like, "No, it's an homage."
I did ask, like, in my notes, it was like, has Walter and Perry always dressed the same? I just noticed it.
Yeah, from any time we've seen them, yeah, they
Even
have.
in their first appearance, they were dressed the
believe
same.
so.
That's wild.
They may have been in soccer uniform, but I believe as soon as they made Walter and Perry like a thing, then yeah, they dressed together and dressed the same. And yeah, at this point, they're like, "What? You dress like me? I dress like you."
They're so cute. I like to think that I'm Walter and Tim's Perry.
Hey, you can vice versa.
Because I have red hair.
Oh, I see. That should be your couple's costume for Halloween.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, Tim's got glasses on, and you've got the red hair. You could just like hairspray stick it out.
I just gotta put in like pigtails and like wire it up like that. Yeah.
I'll wear a bald cap for that.
Hell yeah. Halloween 2025.
Melissa asked Brendan to do his impression of Junior Adelberg, and Jason interrupts by saying he can do a really good Nixon impression, but he has to run home and get the mask first.
What's that mean?
He was just going to put on a mask and be like, I'm Richard Nixon.
You've seen the Richard Nixon masks, right? Like, they're like famous.
Maybe I've seen them and I just haven't registered in my head that they were supposed to be Richard Nixon.
Melissa pushes back and says she wants Brendan to do his impression, and Jason seems a little offended. So they all tell Brendan to do his impression of Junior, which he does. And he even says in the impression, the trick is to not really say anything. And he's doing Junior's accent. Now, what's genuinely hilarious to me is that Brendan Small, the voice actor who does the voice of Brendan Small, also does the voice of Junior Adelberg. So you have the voice actor of Brendan Small doing an impression of his character, Brendan Small, doing an impression of his character that he also does, Junior.
Damn. Impressionception.
Impressionception.
Yeah.
Jason pushes back and says it's not really a good impression, but everyone else is telling Jason that it is a good impression. And Walter and Perry are even like, "It is good. You suck. Sorry."
Yeah, doesn't Perry's like, "I hate you, just kidding."
"I hate you, just kidding."
Just kidding.
When they said "you suck, Jason," I was just like, "Let's go!" Tell him.
No.
Cracks me up is I love Jason as a character, but this episode specifically, this scene, especially once we get towards the end, I was like, man, fuck Jason. And then almost immediately, like a couple scenes later, I feel so bad for Jason. So
why?
Well, we'll see. Melissa encourages Brendan to continue with his junior impression, and everybody except Jason is laughing, and some of them even start clapping. It's at this point that Junior walks up and asks what's so funny. When Brendan approaches him speaking like him, that's when Junior makes the realization that he's being made fun of. And I love it. We get the dolly zoom of him like realizing.
I just love when he doesn't even say it. He's just, oh no, like he gets it. No one says anything. He just gets it so quick. Oh no.
Oh.
Well, I'm sure it's something he's probably already self-conscious about. It's just like confirming his biggest fear, like, oh no. So yeah, he immediately starts to cry. That's when Mr. Lynch walks up and asks who hit him. Oh, Melissa immediately says nobody, and Jason immediately says Brendan was making fun of him.
Oh, Jason was a little bitter bitch in this scene because he didn't get to do his impression.
Which, let's be real, had he done that, he'd still be gone getting his Richard Nixon mask.
Yeah.
But yeah, just immediately throws Brendan under the bus.
Some friend.
Right.
Easy to backstab that one.
Yeah. Well, Brendan kind of defends himself and says they were just playing around. And Mr. Lynch said, were you playing the hurting someone's feelings game?
Yeah, they were.
Mr. Lynch tells Brendan he needs to be a little more sensitive. But Brendan kind of retorts, they're joking around. They're not being serious. It's not like he's going around saying something like, Mr. Lynch wears the same thing every day and smells like cheese.
What kind of cheese is what I want to know.
Ramunda.
Ah.
Well, I'm going to say he smells like brie. Brie cheese.
Brie.
I'll take it.
I don't know what brie smells like. I just assume all cheese smells bad. I'm not a fan of cheese. I don't get the appeal. Everyone
Whoa.
I really don't. Like, I've seen
more cheese for me.
Save some for me. I'm trying to remember it, but I know what it's called, but Walter and Perry just keeps popping up in my head. It's, oh no, the white man who loves cheese and he has a dog and he's British.
Are you talking about Wallace and Gromit?
That's it. See, Walter and Perry kept coming up in my Wallace and Gromit. I was like, Walter and Perry.
What cheese does he like?
He loves all cheese. He's like, the cheese grommet.
What are your thoughts and opinions on cottage cheese?
Not a fan.
Well,
I mix it up with sour cream, and it's like not the same at all.
wait a minute, you mix it with sour cream?
No, I mix it up with sour cream. Like, I'll look at it, I'm like, oh, that's sour cream, and it's not.
I thought you were making like a new treat.
Oh, no.
I eat cottage cheese every single week. I mix it with applesauce because I'm an old lady.
Cottage cheese is one of Adele's girl dinners, for sure.
Girl dinner. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's good for you, full of protein. Anyway, let's move on from the cheese.
Well, the next scene, we see Brendan and Coach McGurk. Coach is yelling at the kids to kick the ball and not rub it. And we see a scene of Walter and Perry holding the ball and rubbing it.
They're having a moment.
Yeah. Well, he goes on to ask the kids if they want to be losers their whole life. He then turns to Brendan and asks what the score is, and Brendan tells him that it's 14-0. And Coach yells, too late. So Coach yells at the ref that he should call a yellow card for tripping, and then immediately turns to Brendan again and asks what a yellow card is. Brendan explains it's an actual yellow card, and Coach is like, it's literal? That's idiotic.
I thought it was a place off Ocean Avenue where I used to sit and talk with you. We were both 16 and it felt so right. Sleeping all day, staying up all night. Staying up all night.
Oh, banger.
Guys, I mean, if I could find you now, things would be better.
We could leave this town and run for... I love that. That was like on my first MP3 player I've ever gotten. It was like number one on my first MP3 player.
On your Zune?
God, I wish I had a Zune. I had a Dollar Tree MP3 player.
They had MP3 players
No.
at Dollar Tree?
It felt like it.
In my mind, you said Dollar General, and it made more sense. But then once the tree part came out, I realized my faux pas.
An MP3 player at Dollar Tree would just be a piece of paper with lyrics written on it.
Yeah.
They're like, sing it to yourself. That's all you get. Well, at this point, Coach asks Brendan if he's okay. And Brendan says he is. He just got yelled at by Mr. Lynch. I love it because Coach is immediately like, so yell back. And then goes on to ask what Lynch yelled at him for. And Brendan tells him he was doing an impression of Junior. Coach is like, is that it? And Brendan kind of confirms. Well, Coach then asks Brendan if he wants to hear his Jimmy Stewart impression. So Brendan says yes, and Coach is like, okay, what's a line from that movie? It's a Wonderful World. And Brendan says, did you mean It's a Wonderful Life? Coach is like, yeah. And then does the line, hey, Clarence, it's a wonderful life. Every time an angel rings a bell, it gets its wings. Now pour me another brandy. And that's when Coach says he's doing an impression of his dad watching It's a Wonderful Life. So then he does an impression of his dad watching Dog Day Afternoon by saying, hey, Sal, put down the gun and get me another beer. So Brendan asks him to do Dustin Hoffman, and Coach says, okay, I'll do Dustin Hoffman from Tootsie. He says, hey, I'm in a dress. No one knows I'm a woman. Scent of a woman.
I'm honestly very glad that he said this because I've been trying to figure out what that movie was called for the longest time. I have been trying to search like Dustin Hoffman movie and I couldn't find it, and he said Tootsie. I was like, finally! And I wrote it down. I've been trying to get to that movie. I've been trying to figure out what movie that was for a long time.
Really?
Well, he does like a combo because it starts with Dustin Hoffman and Tootsie and then goes to Scent of a Woman.
Tootsie.
Is he also in Dog Day Afternoon?
I don't think so.
Al Pacino. Yeah, okay, a different one.
All right, so yeah, Coach does his combination impression of Dustin Hoffman and then immediately tells Brendan to do his impression of Junior Adelberg. I love it. He's like, come on, Brendan, what am I here for?
Don't make me laugh.
So he starts to do the impression and immediately everyone stops playing soccer to come and listen to the impression. Like even kids on the other team. So next thing you know, all the kids are standing around Brendan laughing. Brendan continues the impression, even the part where Junior is tattling to Mr. Lynch. So Coach tells Brendan to do a Mr. Lynch impression. So Brendan does the impression of Junior doing an impression of Mr. Lynch, and all the kids, including Coach, are just losing it. Coach is literally like crying. He's like, it's the other kid as Mr. Lynch.
It's got to feel good to make John McGurk cry.
Yeah. It's at that point that Junior walks up and asks what everybody is laughing about and realizes very quickly that they're laughing at Brendan doing his impression. So he starts crying, and that's when Mr. Lynch comes up.
Out of nowhere, too. He just randomly appears.
Yeah.
It's like they were both waiting off to the side for some shit to go down so they can just walk up into
Brendan never listens to me. He's gonna fuck up at some point, and I'll be there when he does.
Keep an old blue eye on you.
Mm.
When Mr. Lynch appears, you see like Walter's like sucking his thumb because he's yelling at everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Mr. Lynch yells at all of them. First Brendan especially says, this is exactly what I talked to you about before. And so, all right, you're going to be learning your lesson this Saturday at the sensitivity seminar. That's when he says, in fact, all you kids are going to the sensitivity seminar on Saturday, or you face detention. And that's when we pan the kids and we see Walter and Perry like holding each other.
They're scared.
Yeah. I love this. Coach immediately tells Lynch to calm down. He says, Lynch, calm down. He was doing an impression of the kid. The kid's weird.
Such a bully. Like, he is like such a bully.
Another example of why he gets along better with kids.
Yeah.
He's different. We get to make fun of him.
Well, Mr. Lynch tells Coach that you are also going to the sensitivity seminar. And Coach asks Mr. Lynch, are you out of your mind? And Mr. Lynch kind of on the down low is like, hey, ticket sales are kind of low.
So does this mean that Lynch is in charge of the improv group, or is he hosting the improv group?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it seems like he definitely, I think when we do get to the sensitivity seminar, he says it's put on by the math department and yours truly, implying that he's got something to do with putting this together. But it just seems kind of weird to me that it's a sensitivity thing, but there's ticket sales involved, but it's also being used as like punishment.
Well, I was under the impression that it was just a regular schmegular improv show, but the ticket sales were not doing well. So in Mr. Lynch being a little schemer, he just made sure a bunch of kids showed up to fill the seats. That's what I got out of it.
That could be it. I'm not completely sure.
I'm fairly certain there was like an improv poster outside of the gym that they did it in, and they had something crossed out and put sensitivity.
Yeah, I think it says improving your life through improv and then sensitivity seminar over it.
Yeah.
So it's like sensitivity seminar, aka improving your life through improv. They do seem to be an improv group. Mr. Lynch says their name.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows the exact details, but ultimately it comes down to that there is this improv show. It is a sensitivity seminar. Lynch is somehow involved, and ticket sales are just not very good. When he tells Coach he's got to go, Coach is like, have you lost your mind? So when Lynch tells McGurk that ticket sales have been kind of low, he takes a beat and then tells Coach, I'll pay for you to go. And immediately Coach is like, all right, kids, we're all going to sensitivity training on Saturday. The next scene, we see Brendan talking to Junior after, I think it's like the practice or game or whatever just happened. Brendan is telling Junior, hey, I think the reason I do these things is I must be lashing out because I want attention. You know, I'm not that popular. And Junior is honestly like, for as hard as he took Brendan mocking him, he's very forgiving. He's like, hey, that's okay. And even tells him, Brendan, I know you're a good guy. Brendan admits that it wasn't very nice and he was goofing around and no hard feelings. And Junior agrees. So Junior proceeds to take
I love his briefcase.
a newspaper and a juice box out of a briefcase. And he starts, I don't know if you saw the paper, was called the Generic Gazette.
I didn't see that part.
Yeah, that was at the top. On the back of the paper, we see two articles. One article says Lost Dog and has a picture of Mr. Freckles, McGurk's old female dog. The second photo
Oh, shit.
has got a picture of Eddie with the headline, Sick Eddie Cured. Boom, Eddie's not dead.
Oh, dude, the second I saw that newspaper pop up, in my head I was like, I wonder if Tim saw that.
Of course Tim saw that. He's alive.
He's alive.
Listen, I don't want to be the guy that's sitting here wanting Eddie to be deady. I'm not that. I'm glad he survived in some capacity, but he was not being treated well under McGurk's supervision.
That's
and you
true.
know what that newspaper also says? It says Freckles is dead.
No, it
says
doesn't.
lost.
It says Lost Dog.
Where did that dog go? Where did a dog that sick go?
He could be with another family right now. He could be on a
Yeah.
farm with all the room in the world to run around.
Yeah.
I knew upstate at a farm. I knew it was coming.
All dogs go to heaven.
Well, Junior tells Brendan, you should come to my house in a couple of days. Bring your family. We'll have dinner. And I love it because he says all this and Brendan's like, yeah. What?
So it was just supposed to be a dinner with his family, right? With their two families getting together?
Well, I mean, he never says specifically like, hey, it's just going to be a dinner, my family, your family. It seems like this was already some kind of family gathering. We can get into it more because when we get there, but there seems like a lot of relatives that have a very Ken Adelberg look to them. So I think they were already maybe doing like a Sunday family dinner. And Junior's just like, hey, bring your family too. We'll make it a thing.
Low key, when I first watched this, I thought it was going to be like a revenge dinner where he was going to invite Brendan over to like make fun of him.
Kind of was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was unplanned.
Yeah, it wasn't them plotting that.
No, it was
A dinner with schmucks.
news media.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, we've seen Ken Adelberg work in how many jobs? I think Ken's just a hardworking dude. I think Junior is a very well-adjusted young man. For an 8-year-old, he's reading a newspaper. You know, he's telling Brendan, like, hey, you're a good guy. I know that.
He's mature.
Yeah, they've worked together on other home movies too, so like they do know each other.
Yeah, Junior was the Mermaid Queen,
Mm-hmm.
and Junior did talk to Brendan about the Skunk Scouts as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. What episode was History?
I believe it was like season 2, like episode 10?
Right.
I want to say it's 9.
9 or
Was
10?
Junior always blonde?
I don't know.
Yeah, that I'm not sure.
Also, does Ken Adelberg have a mullet?
Yeah, it kind of seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. It looked extra mullety in this episode.
I just went back to episode 10 of History just to look at Junior. Yeah, he was always blonde. That's interesting. I never pictured in my mind's eye he was never blonde.
Well, his mom is blonde, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to the end scene. But I've a very interesting observation about the Adelberg family. We have Brendan coming home and quickly yelling at Paula, "Mom, I'm home. I got in trouble today. I got to do something on Saturday. Apologize. Junior going to ask for dinner." I love it. Paula stops him, says, "Not so fast." Brendan says he's got to go downstairs, and Paula said, "Not so fast. What about a hug?"
Paula said, "Where's my hug at?"
Oh, she did literally say, "Where's my hug?"
She looks so intimidating. Like, when she just comes out, she's like, "Where is it?" She's just no smile, nothing, just looking down. "Where's my hug?"
Well, he proceeds to give her a very awkward side hug. He's like, "Urgh." And then she stops him again and says, "Well, where's my kiss?" So Brendan walks up and awkwardly kisses her on the hand.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm going to get going. Nice running into you." Paula stops him for a third time and asks specifically, "What did you say that part again about getting in trouble really fast?" And Brendan reiterates, "I got in trouble and I said it really fast." So that's when Paula informs him that Mr. Lynch called. Brendan asks if you knew the whole time what was all the bullcrap with the kiss and the hug. Paula said, "Figured might as well get a hug and kiss in before she sends him off to his room."
That makes it sound like they don't hug or kiss.
The way Brendan reacted to hugging and kissing his mom, I kind of get that vibe as well.
Yeah.
He gave her a little side hug. He kissed her hand. He's like, "All right, nice running into you." But I love that when she says, "I wanted a hug and kiss before I send you to your room," he's like, "Oh, you're a nasty mama."
Listen, little mama.
I like this. So now we're in Brendan's room, and if he can't get stuff done downstairs, it appears he's going to get some editing done while in his room. He's got his milk, his cookies, his clipboard. Like, all right, let's see what we got. He hits play, and his first VHS scene is Jason, and he appears to be a hostage negotiator.
I related to this specific moment. Not the entire thing, but I've related to this specific moment with when he's going through editing and just watching all the behind the scenes.
I've done it with myself a couple of times while editing this very podcast where I'll say something and I'll be like, "All right, Tim, that's enough." And then I just continue to say, and while editing, I'm like, "Could have stopped that like 3 minutes ago, my guy." So we do have a timestamp on the bottom corner, and we're only a couple seconds in. Jason is basically telling them that he's their only chance of them getting out alive. If they hurt the hostages, he can't guarantee anything. Brendan kind of makes a note like, okay, this is probably where we can cut the scene. He starts fast forwarding, and about 30 seconds later hits play, and Jason is basically saying the same thing. He fast forwards again, and again, Jason is like, "In summation, you got to free the hostages. Me, all you got." After that, we cut to a quick scene with Paula on the phone trying to call Ken Adelberg. And I kind of forgot that this was like a thing that happened in the time of landlines, where you might pick up your phone to call somebody, but somebody had called you at that exact moment. So that's kind of what happened here. Paula tried to call Ken, and Ken explained that he picked up the phone to call for pizza, and Paula was there.
That was a thing that I can't remember that happening. Well, maybe because it
wasn't like something that happened like all the time, but it was just one of those like coincidental things where you just might pick up the phone to call someone, and at that exact moment, somebody had called you. So you're literally picking up the phone, dialing numbers, and then being like, "Hello? Hello?"
Was it also a thing if you tried calling the same person at the same time that they were calling you, it wouldn't go through?
I think that depended on, dude, not to show my age. I remember my family having a landline, and I remember when we paid extra money for call waiting.
Huh.
So that if somebody called, the phone would make a beep noise while you're on the call, and you could click over. There was a point in time where if I was on the phone and you tried to call me, it would just give you a busy signal. There was just absolutely no way to go through. But yeah, eventually they came up with the technology of call waiting, and you were able to pay extra to have it so if you're on the phone and somebody called you, it made a beep noise and you could click over.
Interesting ways that they would take money from you.
Right. My parents just got rid of their landline like a couple months ago.
Yeah, my parents had one too for a very long time. We actually had 2 landlines because we were a heavy internet usage family.
Yeah.
So instead of like hang up the phone, I'm on the internet kind of stuff, we had a second landline just for internet usage.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah.
At this point, like, I think maybe it's just my nostalgia glasses or like going back to doing retro, like having a landline seems so much cooler than having just a phone that's in your pocket all of the time. And especially the custom ring like phones that they would have. Like I saw there was the M&M phone that you would pick up and there's M&Ms on it.
Oh,
they had like little lips that had you pick up one half of the lip to I miss that.
Yeah. My brother had a Nickelodeon phone in his bedroom and I was super jealous of it.
You just unlocked a memory that back in the day when Sports Illustrated was like a huge thing, you would get a free football-shaped telephone for subscribing to Sports Illustrated.
I've seen those.
For like a year or whatever.
Dude,
that's crazy.
Bring back custom phones, man. Please.
Yeah.
Bring some sort of joy into my life.
Yeah, these are not it. And when we had landlines, we weren't as so like easily accessible, to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it should be. We should go back to landlines.
I remember in grade school when one of my friends, it was the first person I ever heard of not having a landline because they all had cell phones. And I remember thinking, like, that's crazy that you don't have a landline.
It is. It was. The call between Paula and Ken Adelberg. The way that they have it, like, cut off instead of just, like, a straight line, it's the actual wires of the landline.
It's like a curly phone cord.
I didn't even notice that.
Even though they don't have any of that on their actual phones.
Right.
Still super cool.
We're back to Brendan going over the movie. We see Jason telling Rita that robbing this bank was the biggest mistake we ever made. Melissa agrees, saying they really shot themselves in the foot on this one. And Jason's character points out, we also shot the guard in the foot. Let's not forget about that. I love this. Jason's character claims he just wanted a better life for you and me and the baby. So we see the Brendan that is reviewing the tape put his hand on his face and be like, oof, Jason, overact much. But then the Brendan that's directing the movie calls cut to tell Jason, no, you need to go bigger. And that part cracked me up so much. Like the Brendan that's reviewing the tape is like, oof.
This is the part that I related to very heavily of being the editor version of yourself, being mad at the director version of yourself for your direction that you gave some folks. It's happened so many times. I can think about so many instances when we were filming like the first season of The Cursed where in the moment I was like, just scream. And in my editing set, I'm like, no, it doesn't flow right. And just being so angry at myself the way that I expect the scene to go versus the way that I am in the back. That tickled me so much where he's like, oh no, just writing that down.
Well, it keeps going where like multiple times Brendan is like, no, bigger, to the point where it's just Jason screaming, better life. Better life.
That's me every single day.
That's all of America, dude.
Yep.
It blows my mind because for me personally, that Jason, his last screaming and just like, better life, that is such an earworm for me. And then another earworm for this episode happens literally the next scene where it's Paula talking to Ken Adelberg again. And Paula's asking if they need to bring anything to dinner. And he goes on to explain that, no, you don't have to because we'll have all the food here. And that's when he does the, you bring something, no. You bring something, no.
And then she's like, okay, I'll bring that.
And he's like, make sure you bring enough.
That's so funny.
I hope we do see a little bit more Ken Adelberg. The fact that he is like having a major role and his son's having a major role, I think that brings him closer and more into the plot, and he's a very funny kid. I never thought I'd be an Adelberg fan. I never thought that's where we'd be.
You weren't sold when he was like, save some for me.
Honestly, when I saw that the first time, I was like, I hate that. I hate that so much.
And yet you say it all the time.
I do now. It it buries itself into your ear and it just stays there.
Yeah.
It's an earworm. We have one more cut back to Brendan reviewing the movie, and we see director Brendan walk up to Jason and say he's a major disappointment.
Damn.
Yeah. Melissa immediately jumps to Jason's defense and tells Brendan to back off. Melissa tells Brendan that he's being a jerk, and Brendan turns it around and he's like, you're being a jerk. So we see that Brendan is reviewing the tape, just wide-eyed, watching everything like go down. His eyes are like moving back and forth.
It's almost like he forgot all of this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Director Brendan reiterates that they're both jerks and then proceeds to fire Jason. So review Brendan jots down real quick, rehire Jason. This is a part I felt so bad for Jason. On screen, he's like, I don't know where we are in the script. And Brendan's like, we're not in the script. This is happening. You're fired. Takes his wig away. And you see Jason and he's like, no, I'm the guy. He even like tries to grab the stuff back and Brendan's like pushing him back. Brendan tells him, you're replaceable. Tape review Brendan jots down, apologize to Jason. And he looks up just in time to see director Brendan also firing Melissa. And so he writes down, apologize to Melissa, with his final note being, send flowers to Melissa.
Why just Melissa? I'm sure Jason would enjoy the flowers.
I bet he would. Or at least an apology.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. This episode shed a lot of light on Brendan in some...
Mm-hmm.
He is taking the wrong lessons from McGurk, and he is just becoming more and more of a bully to not only someone like Junior, who is a nice kid, just doing the best, trying to be a nice guy, but also his friends.
Yeah.
Jason, and I think he's sending flowers to Melissa because I think Melissa has enough self-respect to not just like fold over and come back, whereas I think he knows that he can take full advantage of Jason and just be like, yeah, Jason will come back, whatever. But
damn.
I will say I did not feel bad for Brendan towards the end of this episode. Not in the slightest.
No.
There
was another episode where Brendan was like really not being a good person.
Yeah, that might have been director's cut when he like fired everybody.
Yeah.
So this is, I guess, one of the things I really want to like kind of, give props to Brendan Small, who writes all these episodes. Your main character is basically an 8-year-old version of yourself. But so many times he's willing to write himself as the asshole. He does mess up. He is human. He's not perfect. I feel like a lot of people might go into this situation of like, oh, I'm going to create this animation about myself when I was 8. Well, I was super cool and I was the coolest dude and everyone liked me and I was never wrong. But he's so willing to be like, no, my character is going to do some shitty stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's going to learn from it. Sometimes he's not. That's just how kids are sometimes.
Not even just kids, but like me as an 8-year-old could not imagine. Like, I don't even want to remember the stuff that I did as an 8-year-old because I know I was probably not. Like, we're kids. We don't know the answers. We don't know what's right and what's wrong. I don't even like myself from like 4 years ago just because I know that I didn't have a good grasp on a lot of stuff. So I can't even imagine who I was as a child, all the things I did that I wasn't recognizing. So that's what kids are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a level of self-reflecting that you can really respect because you can tell he's not just like acknowledging it, but he's grown enough to like move past it and be like, yeah, I need to show this side of myself.
Yeah. And not just show up, but poke fun at it, offer some relatability to people. I really do have a lot of respect for Brendan Small for creating this show, making himself the main character and being like, yeah, but he is kind of not the best sometimes. He's flawed.
Yep. Yeah. I related a lot to Brendan going over that and seeing a shitty, because I had to re-look at some doorman footage from like years and years ago that we shot, and the way that I was directing like people who were my friends, I was being a big asshole. And I was just like, holy shit, dude. Oh my God, that's so relatable. It makes you want to crawl out of your skin so much. And then there's just Brendan like, send flowers to Melissa.
Yeah, right. After that scene, we're at the sensitivity seminar. Mr. Lynch on a microphone telling everyone, quiet, please. And once he says that, his microphone gets turned all the way down. He points out he didn't mean quiet on the microphone volume and to turn him up. And that's when he says, oh boy, into an incredibly loud microphone. I thought that was a funny bit. Mr. Lynch welcomes them to the Improving Your Life Through Improv, a.k.a. the Sensitivity Seminar, and then introduces We're Just People Too. So I'm guessing that's the name of their, like, improv group.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Aren't improv group names supposed to be, like, punny, fun?
You'd think so.
I mean, a lot of times probably, but if this is an improv group that's specifically geared towards kids and then the sensitivity thing, the We're Just People Too is, I guess that's a decent name for an improv troupe that's geared towards sensitivity in children. I don't know how hard of a pun you can do that kids would still understand.
What if they called themselves My Sweet Ass?
Right. So I guess to directly contradict what I just said. Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that was just the name that they went with for their improv group.
Yeah.
I also want to point out before we get to it, just the people that are in the audience. We see a brief glimpse of everybody in the audience. You got Walter Perry, Brendan, Melissa. You also see Fenton. You see Shannon, which I was like,
yep, Fenton and Shannon are there.
but then we also see, and I forget her name, but the one who always runs away on school trips and ends up on a plane or something.
Oh, yeah. Ashley?
Cindy?
One
Cindy.
of those. It
Close
was the
enough.
E.
Well, you can argue that both Fenton and Shannon need sensitivity training, so that's probably why they're there.
Yeah, I agree.
Just for other reasons.
And also, then there's this weird alien-looking guy in a red thing that when Mr. Lynch was welcoming everybody, he starts clapping, and Mr. Lynch is like, all right, quiet. just knock that off.
Yeah, he was the only one clapping. So one of the women from the improv group thanks the crowd and tells them they look great. And then asks another member, Josh, what he thinks. Josh says, are you kidding? This is the ugliest group of people I've ever seen.
Speaking of Ben Schwartz, didn't Josh kind of give Ben Schwartz vibes?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially when she's going over the rules for the one game, and then he walks in and he's like, it's going to be awesome. He's just like... So yeah, that character's name is Josh. I believe he's voiced by Brendan. Not super positive. The female improv, though, her name is Gwen. We find out later. She is voiced by Laura Silverman, who does the voice of Linda.
Oh.
Ah, yes. A.k.a. Sarah Silverman's sister.
Oh, I did not know that one. Gwen was my doodle this week. There's a little dialogue bubble above her showing what she's saying, and we'll get to what she's saying later.
Yes. Well, she tells Josh that that's not very sensitive. In fact, let's start out with a story from Matt on what it means to be sensitive and understanding. So they cut to Matt, who's the guy in the hat, who proceeds to be like, okay. And so we take that time to pan over to Brendan and Melissa in the crowd. Brendan is saying it's going to be a long afternoon. And Melissa is like, well, yeah, but you're the reason we're here.
She's not wrong.
Right?
But she also laughed and encouraged his
I was going to say,
impression,
she asked
so
for it.
it's a little bit of her, too. Yeah. Well, the first time. The second time, she just walked up and laughed. But
It's at this point that Jason walks up and he's like, what did I miss? So, as we know, Jason is not on the soccer team.
right.
Jason was there the first time when Mr. Lynch reprimands Brendan because Jason immediately throws him under the bus. But when he does it a second time at the soccer game, Jason's not even there. Mr. Lynch didn't make him go to the sensitivity seminar. Melissa literally asks him what he's doing, and Jason's like, I go to school here? And Melissa points out that it's Saturday. And he's just kind of like, oh. So we cut to the end of Matt's story with Gwen saying, wow, Matt, thanks for opening up and sharing that very painful story. That's when Gwen announces that it's time for their first improv game. So she says she needs from the crowd a city, an occupation, and a skin color.
That was the dialogue thing that she's saying in my doodle.
Really?
Yeah. I need a city, an occupation, and a skin color. That was so fucking funny.
Listen, I have opinions about improv. These are my personal opinions. They do not reflect anyone else on the podcast. I find improv so cringy. There is improv that is done really, really well. Ben Schwartz, Tom Middleditch, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Professional improvers can do a very, very good job at improv. Doing stand-up comedy, I am friends with people who are in improv. I am friends with people who dabble. Adele and I've been booked on a show where they have two comedians just do stand-up at the top of the show, and then the remainder of the show is improv. And a lot of times they'll incorporate the stand-up into the improv. And every time I've done this show, I'm always like, wow, that's cool. I'm going to get going.
Yeah, I was going to say, we did not stay for the improv.
When you said whose line is it anyway, that was the only real interaction I've had with improv like that. Whose line is it anyway? It was so fucking good, and I remember buying like DVDs of it because I just wanted to watch it. DVD. Because I just wanted to watch it so bad. And I've had friends who are part of improv groups who have brought me along to their improv concerts, whatever they're called.
It's an improv show.
Yeah, they're improv shows, and they have been fun, but there also have been some really rough ones. Some really rough ones where I have to kind of like do one of these where I have my thumb in my ears and like I'm just like let me pretend until this is over. One of the ones they're like, we need volunteers, and I raised my hand and they're like, give me your phone, and I was like, hold on a second. They're like, pull up one of your text messages, your text, and allow us to go through it. And I was like, okay, and I was texting my mom at the time, so I had my mom. I had my mom's up, and I gave it to the woman, and they had to respond to whatever in the game. They had to respond with the text messages in that thing, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And all of my friends were like, "Make sure it's your mom's one, because I know my mom's fucking crazy." And they grabbed it, and the lady on stage was going through, and all of her responses were, yeah, nice, yep, and I was like, my mom has said a lot of stuff in that, so I don't give. And she came back afterwards. It was a bad segment, but she came back and she handed me my phone, and she was like, I'm so sorry, I could not say any of the things that your mom was saying in there. And I started laughing real hard. I'm like, I completely understand. And then I never went back to an improv group ever again.
Oh my god. I can only imagine what horse shit your mom was texting you that she didn't want to fucking say.
It was a bunch, like, when I went back, it was a bunch of, like, conspiracy stuff about, stuff I don't want to say on this podcast. But, like, still.
Of course, yeah.
Improv has its place, like, in D&D. I enjoy that so much, but the games,
right,
and the level of interaction with the crowd can be, it's a very fine line.
Yeah. I'll say this. Good improv is good. Bad improv is painful.
Yeah. My dad used to get so pissed whenever I'd watch Whose Line Is It Anyway? Because he's like, it's not even improv, it's all scripted.
No.
Is that true?
I don't think it's all scripted, but I guess, rumors I've heard were for a lot of the games, because they do go to okay, give me an occupation. Like, the rumor that I heard is a lot of the games are like, all right, because they have certain games that they would play. They're like, hey, when we do game X or whatever, and we do an occupation, we'll probably do like doctor or something like this. Not so much like, hey, here's a script for everything you need to say, right. But kind of here's a gentle heads up for what, like, say, this improvisational song might be about.
Yeah.
To just give them a little bit more.
A heads up.
Yeah.
I just had a revelation because my mom dated somebody who was in an improv group before my dad, so maybe he saw that show and he was like, fuck this show and fuck improv.
I bet your dad and I could find a lot of common ground on our dislike for improv.
For different reasons.
But I think there's a couple behind the curtain reasons why your dad's not a fan of improv.
Yeah. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening. I know you're not.
I'm just imagining your mom and dad watching improv, your mom laughing hysterically, and your dad just like blaring.
He's like, this is all scripted, right?
No one's this funny and creative.
I will say my dad is very funny, man. So.
Yes. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun improv, guys. Well, we have a quick scene. It's Paula feeding Josie some Swedish uttos.
That's so cute. I love that cereal name.
I didn't get it for a second until Adele said something while we were watching. I was like, what is UTOs? UTOs. And I saw there was like 2 dots over the U, so it was like a smiley face. I was like, UTOs. There is
a Swedish flag on it too. I pronounce it uttos.
Utto.
We hear a phone ring. Paula picks it up and is surprised to learn that she won. She throws the bowl of cereal and it lands in front of a very happy Josie while she plays with the food. So the next scene, it starts with a fly buzzing around before it finally passes the sensitivity training seminar sign and gets sprayed by a janitor. We're back in the gym with the improv group finishing up another game and Melissa saying, man, they're good. Brendan asks her if she's being serious, and it pans over to Jason, who says Gwen is really good and very charming, and admits that she's got a hold on him.
Yeah, crush.
Now Gwen is on stage saying that she needs some volunteers. We see Melissa and Jason both raise their hand and get called. I loved it when Jason got called. He's like, yeah, that's right.
That's my girlfriend.
Yeah. So she picks Melissa, she picks Jason, Walter, but not Perry. Once they realize they're about to get separated, they're trying to get Gwen's attention. And they're like, miss, to try to get Perry up there as well. She chooses Mr. Lynch and says, okay, I need one more. And then she chooses Brendan. That's when she's like, oh, I need one more. That's when we hear Coach loudly walk into the gym with a beer in his hand saying, this is not the bathroom.
What was he going to do in the bathroom with a beer?
Drink it?
Yeah, probably just drink it and pee and hang out. It was never explicitly said. The way this scene played out in my head, I was like, McGurk just showed up to get paid. He was just going to drink and hang out in the bathroom, and he accidentally wandered into the sensitivity seminar.
Through a double door, thinking that it was a bathroom.
Hey, we don't know how many black hole brews he's had.
That's true. Fair.
Whoa, this is a big bathroom. And then he starts peeing in the corner like his name's Mr. Lalali.
Lindenson.
Lalali. And that's your call.
To each their own, young woman.
Mm.
Ah?
Huh?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
You betcha. All right. Again, guys, great improv. Great improv, guys. Coach wanders in, says this isn't the bathroom, and Gwen picks him as the last volunteer. So as Coach approaches, he's asking Mr. Lynch what the hell is going on, and Lynch tells him to be quiet and learn. And Coach is like, shut up.
I love you. Shut up. I will not learn. I refuse.
So Gwen is talking to Brendan and explaining they're going to play an improvisational game called Freeze Tag. But first, Brendan needs an occupation. The kids suggest some of the worst kind of occupations, and Gwen's like, I heard dental hygienist.
I heard one kid say chef.
Yeah.
You could have gone with that.
Immediately, Brendan's like, I didn't hear that. So then she asks for an occupation for herself, and this one I heard shoe man and horse person.
Schumann.
And that's when she's like, I heard window washer. So Gwen sets up the scene that they're in a dentist's office. Brendan is cleaning teeth and she's a window washer. Gwen plays the scene out and quote unquote accidentally drops her sponge, bends down, reaches between Brendan's legs to grab it, and that's when Josh calls freeze. He comes in to replace Gwen and take the scene in an even funnier direction. It's awesome.
Arguably, he did not take it in a funnier direction.
No, he took it in a insanely inappropriate for an 8-year-old child direction.
Or for anyone.
Because first he puts his head under Brendan's legs and asks, first time in prison?
Woof.
I was not ready for that one. I was like, eek.
Yikes.
Oh, let me fix that by getting in front of this 8-year-old child and saying, turn your head and cough.
Yeah.
Fucking unnecessary Ben Schwartz.
Dude, the look on Brendan's face when he's doing that is the look I have on my face anytime I watch Improv.
Oh, God. Yeah, it was just not necessary. Weird joke.
Yeah. Well, luckily, Mr. Lynch calls freeze, proceeds to ask Brendan if these shoes are too tight that you're thinking of buying from me, a shoe salesman.
I'd like to think that Mr. Lynch clocked that dude was making really disgusting jokes. So he's like, I'm going to save Brendan.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a shoe salesman when I do it.
I bet Mr. Lynch heard shoe salesman. So he's like, all right, cool. I'm going to go with shoe salesman. He says, you're buying from me, a shoe salesman? And then says, think you're going to need a bigger size there, Sasquatch?
I love when he walked up because he like pulled at his bow tie and like he's like, all right, I'm ready to go.
Oh, yeah. He's like, here we go. And I think when he even says shoe salesman, he kind of looks to the crowd like, huh? Huh?
That's why I think Mr. Lynch, low-key, is part of this improv group.
Yeah.
That's why he's hosting the thing. He wants to be an improv.
When she said she needed volunteers, Mr. Lynch was like standing up like, ooh, pick me.
Yeah. And he was like, I win.
I like it. Melissa yells freeze, kind of questions herself, and then is like, never mind, unfreeze.
Me. Oh my God.
Well, the next one would be me, because Walter yells freeze, just so he can say hi to Perry.
Oh, this is so cute.
That got me.
If we went to improv and I was on stage, I'd be like, freeze. Hi, Adele.
Oh, my heart.
Well, that's when Jason yells freeze, and he walks up and just kind of repeats all the lines that he's heard so far.
Yeah, he's like, first time in prison? And Brendan's like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I dropped my slippery sponge. Hey, Sasquatch. And then even at the end says, shoe salesman.
Oh, poor
I love that
Jason.
Brendan's just sitting there. Like, he is, that just happened to him. He is not a part of this right now.
This is my worst nightmare. You're the one that's stuck on stage the entire improv scene while people get to like come and go.
Yeah. Well, he didn't even want to go up there to begin with.
Right.
It makes me wish there were things as anti-birthdays, like on the complete opposite end of the year from like your birthday. Then I could take Tim to an improv show.
Where on your anti-birthday, you just do things that person hates. So then it's more for like their friends to like watch them struggle.
You got to push them out of their comfort zone. Happy anti-birthday.
That's
No!
Oh my God, I'm trying to think of what.
Oh, I can think of many things.
At this point, Gwen yells freeze and then goes up to Brendan pretending he's a Tin Man and that she's oiling him up. And this is probably my favorite part. McGurk yells freeze.
Yeah.
And Gwen's like, are you going to tag one of us? Coach is like, no, I just wanted this to stop.
That's Tim.
Because it's awful.
Oof.
Oh, hey, speaking of awful, the next scene, we're on the lunch break from the sensitivity seminar, and Coach is sitting next to Gwen. She's explaining that once she finishes her thesis, she'll have a double master's in education and science. She then asks Coach, what about you? And he goes on to explain that he likes to collect World War II stuff.
Fuck.
I think at one point he's like, I got a couple Lugers.
Is a Luger a gun?
Yeah, it's a German gun.
Don't tell people you have guns.
Yeah, right. Especially Nazi guns.
Yeah, anyone who's like, I collect World War II memorabilia, you always got to be like, which side's memorabilia?
Even at this point, when someone's like, I'm really into Warhammer, I'm like, which faction? That's a joke only Eddie will understand.
Shout out Eddie.
The not Eddie
sick
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we enter into this lunchroom, we see that like Jason has a shish kebab, and then Walter and Perry have like a blanket on their table, and they're having a picnic with a picnic basket.
Aw.
They're so cute.
Oh, I also wrote down in my notes, I had idea for a horror movie around improv, so I'll write that down later.
Oh yeah.
I'll help you with that. I've got input.
Tim will be the lead.
Yeah. All right, so the premise is a guy gets taken to an improv show on his anti-birthday, see?
Very close to what I had.
So at one point, okay, Coach asks Gwen if she's going to finish her milk, and at one point he tells her that she has nice legs.
Yep, and that they're shaved.
Wait.
Yeah.
One, he calls her sweetheart. I remember that part and going, oof. And then, did he say, like, they're shaved, or is he saying shave?
He just said shaved.
Shaved.
Shave or shaved, I don't know. I took it as he was complimenting her legs and being like, oh, they're shaved.
Yeah, that's how I took it too.
Which, regardless of the intention of what he was saying, fucking gross, dude.
Yeah, shut
And
the
she's
fuck
just
up.
like, thanks, I work out. And it's like, all right. Why are you guys sitting at a table right now? You should...
She probably was sitting there first. She was probably sitting there first,
Yes.
minding her own business, and McGurk sat down next to her.
And also, now that I'm thinking about this, I think this scene opening with Gwen talking about like getting a double major and stuff like that was specifically to be like, she's in college. She's at least in college, guys.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the first time I'm like, are these like high school students?
That's what I thought. I thought they were kids.
Yeah.
No, she's in college. She said, yeah, she's getting her double master's. So, but still, McGurk, again, S-tier character, F-tier person. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
We're back at it with the improv. And Gwen says now is time for the most important part of the show, where Josh is going to talk about the need to be sensitive, not just to the people who are different physically or mentally, but whatever. So she throws it over to Josh, who says, I know what it's like to be different, to be hurt, to be stared at and laughed at and pointed at. He then gets interrupted by a beeping alarm. He looks at it and he's like, all right, it's 4:00. That concludes my 100 hours of community service. Enjoy the pizza. Word of advice, kids, never protest in front of a federal building. You will get arrested.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Gives up the peace sign, says, peace, dudes, before walking off. And that's when Gwen says it's now time for the closing song. And guess what, gang? We're going to play that song right now.
Right meow.
This is a song I wrote about tolerance and understanding. I watched a caterpillar change into a butterfly today.
She watched a caterpillar change into a butterfly.
You can throw rocks from your house of glass. Ain't no skin off of my ass.
Ain't no skin off of my ass. Ain't no skin off of my ass. Ain't no skin off of my ass.
Don't look at each other as black and white. Look at each other as light and dark. Be sensitive today. And you can throw rocks from your house of glass. Ain't no skin off my ass. My sweet ass. My sweet ass. My sweet ass. I love my ass. Sweet, 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 sweet ass. My sweet, 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 sweet ass.
That was beautiful.
That is going to be mine. That's my earworm that I'm going to make sure that everyone else gets that as their earworm.
I was gonna say that's Marson's new ringtone.
Yeah.
If people did ringtones.
I love my ass!
Appropriate to a room full of 8-year-olds.
Yeah, which makes you, I mean, it just solidifies the fact that this probably wasn't meant for kids to begin with.
Right. I think maybe this improv group was approached by Mr. Lynch saying, hey, I want to turn this into like a sensitivity thing for kids.
Mm-hmm.
But, maybe she was caught off guard by Josh leaving, so she had to figure something out and do that final song.
I have the perfect song,
Yes.
guys.
Appropriate for a room full of 8-year-olds? Absolutely not. Does that song fucking slap? Hell yeah, it does, dude.
Yeah, it
That shit
does.
is stuck in my head. My sweet, 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 sweet home.
God.
Just the lyrics, because I was trying to figure out the lyrics, because at one point I heard, people don't look at each other as black and white. Look at each other as light and dark. That part got me, and and all I could remember was my sweet ass, my sweet ass, my sweet ass. So I looked it up. I watched a caterpillar change into a butterfly today. You can't throw rocks from your house of glass. There ain't no skin off of my ass. What are you saying?
You've never heard the expression like, oh, that ain't no skin off my ass? It means like you don't care.
I get that part, but the throwing... You can't throw rocks from your house of glass. I get that you don't want to break your own glass.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a caterpillar change into a butterfly today. Why?
Yeah.
What does this song mean?
She watched somebody grow. She watched somebody grow.
And she doesn't care about it.
Yeah, she watched someone grow. She doesn't care if you throw rocks from your house of glass, and it's no skin off her ass. She doesn't care.
Because she loves her ass, as we should all love our own asses.
That's right.
No matter the size, the shape.
I need to do some squats.
Do the lyrics make sense from a improv song about being sensitive? No, not at all. Not even remotely. Do they make sense outside of that context? No, not really.
It is very catchy.
Yeah.
I also love that Shannon in the background was holding a lighter when she started going off.
Yeah, I was going to say, so it shows one crowd reaction shot where literally everyone's sitting there like wide-eyed, mouth open, including Mr. Lynch, and then Shannon's in the back just holding up a lighter.
He's into it.
Looking chill as fuck. He's like, yeah.
Even Fenton looks terrified. He is just... And he normally
Oh,
just
yeah.
looks like a little, rat.
Well, we have the final scene. It's Paula, Brendan, and Josie, and they're in front of the Adelberg's house. I made a note here. I now understand why Ken has so many jobs. That's a big house.
Yep.
We have a quick shot of a garden gnome in the front yard wearing a sombrero. I don't know if you guys caught that.
No, I didn't see that.
I didn't see that either. I was looking for a gnome, but I couldn't see that. A gnome with a sombrero. I don't know. That seems kind of like...
That's why it threw us off.
I can't even... I'm looking for it right now. I'm trying to see it in the scene.
It's a very quick establishing shot of the Adelberg's house. I think you see a skunk run by the front yard.
Oh, I see it, yeah. I don't want to make any inferences, but why was the gnome
wearing a sombrero?
I don't know. Are they Hispanic?
See, and this is something I never really thought about until I heard Brendan doing his impression of Junior Adelberg. That to me sounds like a very insensitive Italian impression.
I had the same thought, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But looking at their house, it does appear as though their garden gnome is wearing a sombrero. Is it maybe just a sombrero-wearing garden gnome they decided to put in the front yard? I mean, it could be. But to me, that would almost insinuate, like, yeah, this is like a Latino family or something.
Right.
Even the architecture of the house.
I was just thinking that, too. It's like that Spanish architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have the very quick garden gnome wearing a sombrero. Paula is reminding Brendan. She says, Brendan, remember. And he cuts her off saying, I know, don't make fun of the way they talk. And Paula chimes up and says, actually, I was going to tell you not to eat like a pig, but yeah, also that. So Paula goes on to tell Brendan she has a confession. It's not a bad thing. In fact, it's good. But she goes on to tell him that when she mailed that package, she was entering a video contest with one of Brendan's videotapes, and it actually came in third place. Brendan was a little upset at first, but then kind of says, third place, that's all? And Paula tells him, yeah, you actually won $500.
Damn.
And that's $2002. So
right?
It's like $1.2 million. No, it's probably close to $1,000.
I did look it up. It's $916.39.
I would love $916 right now.
Just send in a video of you as a baby.
Oh, I was going to say, if you're going to say a video of me peeing, I'll be like, I'm going to get way more than that. than $900 if I send in a video of me pissing.
Where are you sending it?
Whoever, the highest bidder at this point.
America's funniest home video.
I don't think they take videos like that.
Well, Bob Saget did.
Not yet.
So Brendan says that that's awesome, but Paula feels bad and says that she should have told him. Brendan asks which of his movies he sent, and that's when Paula explains it wasn't one of his movies per se. It was actually a home movie that Paula took when Brendan was 4 years old. Paula tells him, don't you remember you were being so cute, singing the alphabet, laughing, and then you peed your pants and started crying? Brendan says that's so embarrassing and reiterates that she should not have done that. She begins to explain that they're going to show it on the news. That's when Ken answers the door and explains that they've already shown the video once and they're about to show it again. So we have a large group in the living room. They're watching the news. And the news plays the video again. The video shows a younger Paula holding a 4-year-old Brendan as he's doing the alphabet. When he gets to the letter P, the camera pulls back to reveal that 4-year-old Brendan is peeing his pants, saying, P, Mom, see, P.
He's peeing so... There's so much piss. Like, there's
so much
it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just going to say it now. Paula's like, yeah, you said the alphabet, and then you started peeing your pants and crying. He never cried. He was pretty into it. He was having fun.
Maybe he cried because she made him stop peeing.
I did write in my notes here that Brendan is an actual piss baby.
Everybody around Brendan is laughing, and Brendan says, oh boy. And that is the end of Season 3, Episode 4, Improving Your Life Through Improv.
Well, my life feels improved.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in this last scene that I wanted. One, I don't know what Paula has brought. It looks like she's brought like a bowl filled with wallets or brownies.
I thought they were brownies.
Yeah, it was like brownies or like dark tortilla
As soon
chips.
as I saw it, I was like, is that a bunch of wallets? But then Paula has had a habit of making Brendan do things that he clearly doesn't want to do, a la the Fenton sleepover for 2 days. And now she seemingly randomly just was like, I'm sending in this video of you as a baby.
Dude, that's That's such a mom thing to do, though.
Oh, 100%.
That's classic mom moves of like not knowing that this would upset them, so they're going to do it anyway. Or maybe they do know and they do it just to spite them. I don't know, but it's a mom
She
thing.
clearly knew it was going to spite him because when she was about to throw it in the mailbox, she looked back at Brendan and she's like, and like tossed it in real quick. She kept it a secret because she knew.
She did know. That's why she was so sketched out in the car ride. She was trying to keep it from him. Well, Paula.
Here's your 30 pieces of silver, Paula.
Here's your $500, Paula.
I love her 90s look with the ruffled hair, like a little bit of a mullet, and then the bedazzled shirt that says girl on it.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for Brendan, though.
Yeah.
I don't. It's very hard to.
No, he was a dick in this episode, so...
Well, and I think this is his just rewards for mocking Junior Adelberg, so now everybody gets to laugh at him. And it seems like there's a lot of Adelbergs here at this party. Did you guys happen to notice when Paula and Brendan walk in, we see very briefly Ken's wife?
Yeah.
We've got Ken, his wife, off to the side of the door. And then hanging on the wall behind her is almost like a...
Boudoir photos, yeah.
Yeah, type photo. So... I don't know. Ken's got a cute little blonde wife there. And then it seems like with the group, again, it feels like this is like a group of quote unquote Adelbergs. A lot of children and adults have kind of that Ken Adelberg look. A lot of them have like really cute blonde wives.
Yeah. It's because they've worked on themselves.
Yeah. And they work like 20 jobs.
Sure. We'll go with that, I guess. Probably more likely. I'm like, it's because they're good people, so they attract good people.
Yeah.
But it's probably more because of the money, low key.
Yeah, probably. What is is it a duck? Like on the walls, they have like duck wallpaper or like decorations where it like comes from the top of it.
Oh,
I see. So it's like the trim. Yeah, it looks like some kind of duck or bird is the wallpaper trim. Also, like their TV, their speaker system, everything for being like early 2000s is pretty nice.
Yeah, they got one of those big TVs.
Yeah, he's loaded because he's got so many jobs. Oh, I get it. Adelbird.
I thought it was Adelberg.
Yeah, Adelberg, B-E-R-G.
Okay, then the bird makes no sense then. Yeah.
We can pretend it's Adelbird.
It is today.
That's right. So that is the end of season 3, episode 4, improving your life through Improv.
I'm looking at all their family. That's a big family.
Yeah.
And I guess the insinuation is his wife is a model of some sort.
I think so, yeah. So what are our thoughts on improving your life through improv?
I enjoyed it.
I really like this episode. I do.
There was a weird joke in there, but I can overlook it.
There was a subtle theme to this episode. It's not normal, like, it didn't, like, wrap things up. There wasn't, like, a start and an end to a certain thing. But it was a big, humbling experience for Brendan that I think he really needed.
Yeah.
I think he needs to lose his worship for Coach McGurk for a second, because Coach in the whole thing is like, come on, keep bullying. Like, let me hear that bullying joke. And he now feels the hurt that comes with what bullied people feel. And I think that I really didn't feel bad for him. It's hard to feel bad. So I liked the subtle theme of it from like the beginning of the episode towards the end of just, he's turning into a bully because of, what Coach McGurk is teaching him, and he needed to be humbled. And then everything in between was a lot of enjoyment and a lot of funny jokes. I really enjoyed the improv scene. This was a good episode. It's not like a home movies episode where we see like them doing a home movie and then just a bunch of banter with him and McGurk. I think this was a really like grounded in reality, like his everyday life home movies episode.
Right.
And I think it was a really good lesson from Junior's point of view that even though he had straight up been mocked by Brendan multiple times, he never once retaliated. He didn't try to make fun of him back or anything like that. He took the high road. He said, hey, Brendan, I know you're a good guy. I know that. Come to my family's for dinner. We'll eat. Junior handled it very, very well. Yeah, it was a very good episode that I think was a humbling experience for Brendan. And again, like character of Brendan, they have no problem being like, yeah, he's a little shitty kid sometimes.
As we all were.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like this episode. I think there's a lot of earworms in this episode. Even the say like, you bring something, you bring something. No. You bring something. No.
My favorite was better life. Better life.
I just wanted a better life.
Better life. for me, it's always going to be my sweet ass. Like, just my sweet ass.
Yeah, that
For
checks
sure.
out.
Very up and down with Jason this episode. Did not like Jason the beginning of this episode. Kind of felt for Jason by the end of the episode. So I could see maybe that being a harder grade for you.
Hard not to feel bad for Jason when Brendan is like coming at him and telling him he's doing a bad job. When he's doing a good job, he's fine. I don't know why he's like, I got to take this weight and fire you, whatever. I did feel bad for that with Jason. I think that's what he kind of breathes into the world, is that type of, I wouldn't say evil, but that type of like response, because that's kind of how he treats other people, the way he's just like, I'm going to tell on you because you wouldn't let me do my Nixon impression. Like, that's not, he didn't do that. Jason's a little bit of a stinker, and we've known this from the beginning, and you know what? I think this is the first time in a while that I felt that animosity I've had towards Jason.
I was going to say, Jason hasn't really been a stinker in a while.
Yeah, but when Walter and Perry were like, I hate Jason, I just like threw my arm up. I was like, let's go!
Something awoken deep in your brain where you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I do hate Jason.
But I can't give him anything like terrible, because like, what did he do other than just be kind of selfish? It's between a B- and a C+, but let's give him a B-.
Hell yes. Yeah.
I was probably going to say something if you gave me a C+. Like, really, dude? Really? I was like, don't say anything. Just be chill.
I was like, he didn't do something terrible, so it's just B- for Jason.
That's fair. All right, episode grades themselves. Who would like to go first?
You.
Okay. I really like this episode. I think there's a lot of earworms. I think, especially when we revisit something that's 20 plus years old, you're going to have those awkward jokes here and there. I don't want to hold that against them personally, but I will say for me, it's probably the difference between an S and an A. I really like this episode. So many good earworms. I was very much looking forward to breaking this one down. Easy breakdown for me because it was just a fun watch. I will give this one a very, very solid A. I'm going to give it an A+.
Wow.
Ooh, all right. Okay.
Not quite an S, but I don't feel right giving it anything lower than an A+. I really, really like this episode.
Well, I also enjoyed this episode, even though Brendan was a little bit of a stinker. Originally, I was going to give it an A, but the weird prison / turn your head and cough joke kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So it's going to be an A- for me.
It's tough to go back and forth with what is a quintessential home movies episode? Like, is it Coach McGurk, Brendan, Melissa, and Jason hanging out, or is it just about Brendan, right? And it felt like this episode was just about Brendan. And McGurk and Melissa and Jason were there, but like they didn't really like add to the plot. This is a very just like Brendan episode, which is okay. So I've been trying to sit here like, do I want, because I liked the episode a lot. I really did, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I would with like Brendan and like the whole gang being there and actually like doing some antics together. It was just a Brendan episode. So I gave it a B+. I really enjoyed the episode, but it wasn't like a home movies episode for me. I'd probably really enjoy it next time around too. I'm really interested to see how we get when we do the tier list episode. I'm really interested to see that because I'm probably going to rewatch the entire series before we do that.
No, I think these are very, very good grades. I understand where you guys are coming from. I really enjoy this episode, so I think that's going to do it. Anything else we want to add about this particular episode?
I think we've touched everything that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
I am interested in Gwen, but I don't want to ask you if she comes back.
Well, I wouldn't tell you either way.
Interesting.
Tim's never going to tell you ever again.
The only character I will tell you comes back is Brendan Small.
No, he dies in season 3.
All right. Yes. Do we have any abbreviated plugs?
I think this will be my final, well, not my final plug of Puzzle Valley 2000, but I have just dropped episode 0. At time of recording, I have just dropped episode 0, Bleach Blonde and fucking Puzzle. And this coming Monday, the first episode of Puzzle Valley 2000 will drop Monday the 13th, Puzzle. So I am very excited to hear what people think of it. And if you are listening and you've heard me go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about Puzzle Valley, please just give that first episode a listen.
I can't sing its praises enough. It's an amazing podcast, and Marcin puts his heart and soul into it, so just give it a listen. Also, I'm there too.
Thank you.
As someone not associated with that podcast at all, I also highly recommend it. I've already listened to episode 0 twice and have messaged Marcin a couple questions that I hear. So
thank you guys.
Yep, I think that's going to do it for this episode. So I think all we have left to do is wish our listeners better life.
Hi.
Better life.
I was wondering where that was going.
That's going to do it for this episode of Rewatching Home Movies. Join us next week for Season 3, Episode 5, Four's Company. If you liked what you heard, check out our Linktree at Linktree/RHMpod. There you can like, follow, and subscribe. Send us an email or leave us a 5-star review. Thanks to Jens for the refresh of our logo and Chris Bongat for the use of our theme song. On behalf of myself, Tim, and my co-host Marcin and Adele, thank you for rewatching Home Movies with us. We'll see you next week. Bye.
And then afterwards, all right, same time next week, guys.